Savvy Spotlight is a monthly feature introducing foreign and Japanese women at the front line of what's successful, contributing, cool, unique, and interesting in Japan. Today, we're shining the spotlight on Carine Lantignac, an artist, mother, and entrepreneur who creates beautiful maps of the world using Japanese washi paper.
My name is Carine. I came to Japan for the first time in 1999 as a tourist, and I was very impressed by the quality of many things, and the standards were really high, and I thought that's where I would like to work. So at that time I lived in London, and I applied for a job as a cabin attendant. So for 14 years, I came to Japan twice or 4 times a month. After the tsunami of 2011, my husband felt the urge of going back to his country. So we came back to Japan in 2011. And Mapponica officially started in 2021. However, it's been a very long standby process in my head. I started the idea many years ago, but it's only when I came to Japan I could make it happen.
What exactly is Mapponica, and how did it eventually come to be?
I love maps, and the concept I invented is to put things together like patchwork, like a puzzle, and that's how the name came as well, because I make maps, but they are within the sense of Japan, so I became Mapponica, map for map, and Ponica from Japonica. The idea came many years ago, but it has never been done by anyone, so I had all the challenge of the prototype. I sat down 8 months and I put the program all together. Everything that I do is handmade, but I also use papers which are hand printed. So it's just like I keep on going with the artisanal cycle. The only thing which is not handmade, it's the cut of laser, but it's just a tool. It's a material to close and seal all this handmade process into a frame. I used to be a cabin attendant and I used to look at the windows, not all the time, sometimes. And I was fascinated by all the patterns, the earth, colors and everything. In the meantime, I was also doing patchwork with fabrics that I bought in England. And through my work, I discovered the Japanese fabrics and I fell in love with the Japanese patterns. And I moved to Japan later, and then I had more time to go around the shops, and I discovered that paper was widely available, not only in origami size, but in large sheet, full patterns. And I thought maybe it would be high time to go back to my mapping with Japanese papers, but with a high quality thing. Like everything is hand printed. Silk screen, woodblock patterns, but even silk screen have very different methods. And those methods are coming from the printing of Japanese textile. They can go to a great extent to reproduce what was made on the fabrics to be now made on paper. So that's why I thought I have finally found my medium to work on my maps.
Oh, look, can you see? Yes?
Lined. So this color pattern was actually inspired by a friend. We went to Entrepreneur Club when I wanted to start this Mapponica project, and she was explaining her own project. She was very colorful and there was lots of blues and pink. I apologize still to Moira. I may have missed half of the information, but I created a map, so she forgave me.
What do you think is the main appeal of your maps?
People always tell me that they have never seen anything like it. It's like, oh, it's gorgeous, oh, it's handmade. And then they go into the curiosity of the thing. And what attracts them is, I think, like anyone can notice that if you go and live abroad, and especially if a foreigner coming to Japan, it will have a deep impact on you, on your behavior, or way of thinking and everything. Even if you go back to America, you will never go back the same as you were before you stayed in Japan. So they can feel, I think, they can identify to the slight transformations. Like, yes, I'm American, but I have a big piece of Japan in my heart. So the identity, the cultural identity, the traveling identity. They love the fact that the papers are beautiful and they had never had the experience of seeing a product in which you can bring so many little pieces of them. So that, yes, I've tried origami, but that wasn't for me, but I've got all of them here and it's beautiful, yeah.
Is there a specific map or design that holds a special place in your heart?
The first one was Japan and the second was France, because it was all experimental. And when I did France, it was really nice because it was being filled with all these Japanese essence. And I thought it really looked like my daughter, because I have a Japanese husband, and very often people are asking you, how is the kid, more Japanese, more French? And I always said, well, they're equally both. And I thought it doesn't only apply to my daughter, it applies to me. When you live abroad, if you want it or not, you capture the ways of behaving and thinking of the countries you go in. So I had a long relationship with Japan, and I thought that map suits my daughter, but it suits me as well. A friend of mine loved it and bought it. And from that day, I also decided that I will always call my maps color patterns according to the first person who would buy them. So that specific color pattern has become Gaël. So I can use it for many other countries, but the combination of papers is called Gaël.
Have you always been creative, or was it something that developed over time?
I've always been so creative. I was the kind of girl sitting at the back of the classroom, hearing the teacher, looking outside and thinking, oh, maybe that's the way they should redecorate the recess area. Maybe they should put that here. I think I was crafting before I could speak. So it's fun, but sometimes the house gets quite hectic because I need to start projects. And this one has been so far the most stable I've done, and I like it. I didn't expect it to grow into that size. I started with like few square meters, and I'm all over the place, but I like it, and it's working. So I've always wanted to. It's funny because since I was a child, I thought I would love to sell something that I create, but you don't know how to make that until you get the idea. And Mapponica is what I was thinking and dreaming of.
What are some creative difficulties you've faced?
I did a map of my own, the city I was born in, and it took me 3 months because I really wanted with all the areas, all the tiny quarters and everything. And I realized it was over challenging and I should never work. But since I had started and that was my birthplace, then I got it. So you learn from your mistake, you learn from your challenge. And when I find it difficult is that sometimes I will make a map of Japan and people will say, well, I come from this area around the world. Could you make my map with those colors? And that can be extremely complicated because I choose patterns fitting boxes. And then if you put it on another scale, on another map, it may not work. So it has happened that I did it for a client and she said, but that's not what I wanted. And I showed her it's exactly the same paper, but it doesn't work the same because the volume of red will overgrow the volume of green, for example. Even if you use the same paper, the balance on another map may project a completely different atmosphere. So that's when people challenge me to where I know the paper is going to go, then that's a really high struggle because they have their own idea, and I know it will have to slightly change. So I have to see with them how far I can go.
What are some things that creatively inspire you?
Inspiration can come from anywhere. I'm quite explosive. It could be from a painting that I see. It's not going to be about the painting, but it could be about the combination of colors, people, the way they dress, the way they put makeup. It's all about colors. And the patterns, then I get them when I go in my shops. There are so many new things and I can already put them in my little windows and everything. So I can get very easily inspired. So I don't have to go to a specific place. It can hit any time.
Have you ever hit a creative wall?
I can fall into walls when I don't have the materials to do things anymore. For example, I have ideas, but then I would stop because I cannot make it happen. And Mapponica was a bit of a struggle at the beginning because I used to cut everything by hand. You know, the blackboard, I tried many materials, but it was very complicated. I thought I wouldn't be able to continue, but my husband's really good with computer. And I said, listen, if you help me with the data, would it be possible you help me with this? And he said, okay, so he's doing the data and then I'm doing the things, but I'm in control of the map aesthetics, really important. I don't just take the first map that I find on internet. And yes, it's just, I think the obstacle will be how do I make things happen? Like sometimes I go in other projects such as like making animals, private requests, things with names. So it gets a bit out of what I do usually, but I get out once in a while.
What is one important thing you learned when you first started Mapponica?
You learn that nothing's actually lasting, because even if I create a pattern and I say, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna keep that pattern going, you know it's not gonna happen because the paper will disappear. So it's very nerve-wracking, but at the same time it's very exciting, because when I go to shops, I know there will be the new pattern section, and I can witness this new pattern section. I can project myself with a range of different things. They can be introduced into the previous one I had, and it keeps on rolling. That's how I do it. And yeah, it's a bit like the impermanence of things and the dynamic you need to work with.
You have any other creative projects you're working on?
Oh my God, I've been doing lots of things. I'm doing like, can you see my kokeshis? Like they're holding the curtains, kokeshis. Kokeshi lamps, I've done bottle lamps, sake bottle lamps. It's non-stop, but there's always something going on, and I still patchwork a lot.
Have you had any exhibitions in the past?
I did an exhibition it was for a week time. I'm being approached now on the market, which is a good thing, because getting out is a thing, but people coming to you is another. I'm also considering working with travel agencies as something to bring back from your trip. So it's like there's a lot of things going on in my head. I need to find the right people and present my product properly.
Looking into the future, what are your goals for Mapponica?
Starting your business and getting your job to be known by people is extremely difficult. And the thing that I would like to do is maybe like work with shops, because at the moment I'm just like very unstable. When you're an entrepreneur, it's like you are the starting time, and sometimes you sell really well and then following 3 months nothing is happening because there's no event, there's no way of being promoted, and there's so many things going on in the market. So eventually I would like to approach shop. But in order to approach shop, then you need to get a certain reputation, you need to get So I would like to get more stable and use all my experiences in the markets and place I haven't did to be as my business cards. Like, I've been here, my job, my work is working, so would you like to work with me as well? So getting out on other direction to sales.
What's a typical day like for you in Tokyo?
Being an artist, you spend a huge amount of time in your house, and lots of my friends are in this kind of creative business as well. So we drop the kids to school and we go for coffee time, like just outside, relax with a cup of tea, have good laughter. And that's the energy that I get in the mornings. Like, you know, my social time is in the morning. Come back home and work and pick up the kids, and my productive day gets over basically. And the place that I love to go for recharging, I'm a cyclist, I go along the Arakawa River. There's no traffic light, nothing, so you just cycle for kilometers and kilometers without interruption. And that's where very often things get clear in my head. I have time to process, time to find my solution, time to think of new ideas, and I love it. And I miss it right now it's too many markets. I want to cycle.
How did you go about balancing life as a mother and entrepreneur?
I'm still an instructor, but when my kids were younger, in order to get childcare, I would need to justify my working hours. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're working a lot from home, and then hours don't count. It's just like the work you put into it in order to build something. And I was very frustrated with the fact that I couldn't justify my 8 to 5 o'clock. I wish I could have started working earlier, because I have 3 children, and now they have slightly grown, which gives me more free time. But still very difficult to get free time to do my own job. I would go in the morning, look after the kids, and then come back home, suit my own hours, and come back with the kids, and that my work is over. So it can be very frustrating to be by yourself. My husband's Japanese, working like a Japanese man, so the whole childcare weight is completely on my shoulder, and it has really amputated me for many years to start when I wanted, and even now, it's just I really have to work against the clock constantly, and whatever comes out of your work is impeccable. So my level of making the product wasn't reaching my own standard, and I would have never shown something with my own standard, but you need time to do those things. So when the kids slightly grew up a bit more, I sat down and I went into how can I make it, and then everything. It's in the papers research, it's in how you promote your job, how you go in entrepreneur club. So that had been very difficult for me to have this family and work balance, extremely difficult. But they're growing, and I keep on going.
What advice do you have for inspiring artists who wish to turn their art into a business?
The first thing, which is difficult, is to get out of your studio. It's always easy to do creative project for yourself and liking what you like and just styling in the cupboard. However, if you want to sell it, you have to face the world. You have to face people's point of view, criticism. You have to be very proactive in telling about your work, because it took me a long time to get out of the imposter syndrome. And people would ask me what I did, and very modestly or shyly, oh, I'm an artist now. I would do it more easily. What I still find difficult is that when I'm going out and meet people, I don't go out to sell my product, but because I'm selling a product, I feel guilty. It's like maybe they think I'm trying to sell something. So you have to get out of your comfort zone constantly. You have to be constantly active into searching things, getting yourself to be known. When listening to people's life and they listen to you, you can connect, they can advise you, and that's how you grow. So be proactive and get out of your comfort zone.
What is your favorite place in Japan to travel to?
I forgot the name. It's a museum somewhere between here and Tokyo, and it's a museum of kimono, but the man who made the museum was also a sculptor and everything, so the gate is absolutely beautiful. You don't know if it's Japan or Cambodia. The floor tiles are wonderful, everything is handmade, but this left such a strong impression on me. It's just a small museum in the nature you wouldn't expect. Everything is about the details, the doors, the floors, the kimonos, like they're strikingly beautiful, but if you look into it, it's even more absorbing.
What is your Japan travel tip?
I think the first time you come to Japan is just so different that you lose your sense of understanding. There's lots of things you read, and I didn't like it when I came. It was don't. I hated this. I would rather have a book which say, this is how it's done, this is how it's done, this is how it's done. So don't get nervous about the don't. Try to follow them, of course. And the best ways to learn the do is do as the Japanese do. Be really observant, and it would make your trip really smoother, I think, or your welcome in the country, your arriving in the country much smoother.
Find our past Savvy Spotlight features over on our site at savvytokyo.com. For new and upcoming features on more inspiring women in Japan, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you have anyone in mind you'd like us to interview, please leave us a comment with your recommendations.